Hi, this is Dr. Toby Moma, host of Health and Wellness with Dr. Toby. I'm inviting you to watch our show for the next 1 month. We have a guest all the way. Roots are in Maiduguri, Borno State, Nigeria. She moved at the age of 18. She moved here, started community college. She got married after her nursing program, became a nurse practitioner. Today, she's a nurse practitioner at the Jackson Hines Comprehensive Center. And her husband is pastoring a thriving church in Flowood, Mississippi. A lady from the backwoods of Maiduguri in northeastern Nigeria, which is well known today for the Boko Haram, the bloodshed, the Chibok girls that have been kidnapped, for the child bride phenomenon. She's going to be pouring out her heart on how a Nigerian American has come in and made a success of her life. She's a beautiful wife, a mother of 3, and she's going to share with you her pitfalls and her platforms, so how she got to where she is. You don't want to miss it. Look forward to seeing you. Jesus is Lord. God bless you. Hi, this is Dr. Toby Moma, host of Health and Wellness with Dr. Toby. It's a pleasure to have you on our show. Don't touch that dial. We have a great show with Miss Cerner, Musa Justice, pastor's wife, mother. She's a daughter. She's a nurse. She's a nurse practitioner. I mean, she's worked multiple jobs here in the United States. She's bringing her experience to bear. She's challenging the young adult, the young female, the young African American. You can make it. You can do it. Don't give up on that dream. Don't let the world, the negative criticism of the society stop you. Keep your dream alive, because she says she has done that, and today she's testifying about the goodness of God. So we're here to talk about this young lady who has paved the way as a pace setter. She comes from a community in northern Nigeria where less than 1% of them are considered Christians, in that northeastern part of Nigeria. And she's held to her faith. She's grown into a pastor's wife, and now she's making a success of her career. And I feel that story is worth sharing. You're welcome on the show, Ms. Justice. Real pleasure. Thank you so much for coming. So you're a mother of 3 lovely children. You had your son this year, I believe?
Yeah.
Wow. And you've been married for 8 years?
Yes.
Awesome. So tell us a bit about, you were doing your nursing when you got married, is that true? Or am I
Yes.
correct? Okay. And you told us earlier that you had known him in elementary school,
Yes.
and then you reconnected.
Yes.
Now, okay, so that you can take the story on from there. So this reconnection, how did it end up in marriage?
When I called my mother, and my husband had gone to some church program when my mom was there. So while they were together, he wanted to come over and see where my mom lives. So on his way
In
Maiduguri, on his way from the church, him and my mom wanted to show him her house. And so he was driving her back home, and I called my mom. So she was like, "Oh, I'm here with Suna." So she gave him the phone, and we just talked. And then he got my number, and then we started talking since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I heard he wasn't initially a Christian. In the early days of his life, he was living on the opposite side of the church. And then he had a radical transformation.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was a church goer. We
okay.
all went to church, like
Okay.
all of us. We go to church. He was actually more involved in the church youth. He was doing Bible study. He was doing everything to people, but he just didn't have a relationship with God. He didn't Jesus was not in his heart. He did not accept Jesus, but he knew the word. He just wasn't living it. So after he had an encounter in high school, that's when he decided to live his life as a Christian.
Wow. So these are personal questions, and you don't have to answer, but what attracted you to your husband, Suno Justice? I mean,
Yeah. Well, every time I talked to him, I remember at that time we were just talking over the phone. He was always positive. He was always calm. And then I have this thing when my spirit is at peace with something. Even when I'm buying a house, I go in there. I'll go to so many houses, but there's a house that if I feel the peace,
Peace.
then I will know. But with him, I was just like, at that time, I was just like, I made up my mind. I don't have to be married in my life. I'll just if I find someone, I will. But I'm perfectly happy where I am. I have Jesus. I'm good. So I don't have to have a husband. But then I met him. He was very kind. He was very considerate, and he loved God. And I'm always like, I feel like you have to marry someone. The person has to love God 1st before he loves you. And
Wow.
that was the first thing. He loves God, so we're good. He was going to love me.
Now, were you ever worried or paranoid or concerned about him going into the ministry and you ending up as a pastor's wife? Because you know, some women, they tell their husbands, "I didn't marry you as a pastor. You didn't marry me as a. That's not what I married you as." And to them, it becomes a conflict.
Yes.
They expected a different role for their husband. So when you married sooner, 8 years ago, was there an inclination that in 2019 he'll be a pastor of a thriving church in Flowood, Mississippi, and you'll be
No.
handling women and children ministries and
No.
counseling couples and going out to do church programs like you're doing this weekend?
No. Well, even before we got married, he told me he feels like God is pushing him into ministry. So he thinks uh, he will be in full-time ministry. So I was like, I'm okay with it. I just will help you on the side, but I don't want to be involved. I'm not a talker. I'm not like one of those. I remember public speaking is not mine. I can stand in front of people. I could probably pass out because my heart rate would go. So I'm like, I would support him, and it's been great journey so far. It's been great.
Because I know when he came to the U.S., he went to Liberty University. He got his master's.
Yes.
Did you guys have to relocate to Liberty, or he
No,
did
it
it
was
online?
online. It was
Awesome.
online.
And then he now started with Church on the Highlands
Church of the Highlands.
in
Yes.
the Birmingham area,
Yes.
and now he's pastoring at Flowood, Mississippi for two
Yeah.
2 years, 3 years,
Yeah. About
2 to 3 years,
yeah.
maybe
Mhm.
3 years. Yeah.
Close to it.
Wow, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That you were supportive, because
Yeah.
some women make it hard on the man to fulfill his ministry.
Yeah.
They say, I'm not called, you are called. If you go into the ministry, I'm going to leave you. And, some men have to choose between the ministry and their marriage.
Yeah.
But you were not that kind of woman. You made him comfortable doing the will of God.
Yeah, I feel like that's where his heart is. He's always been in ministry. Even before we got married, he would go preaching in other churches and other places. So that was where he felt. That's where he was. Even when he was working, he would he was volunteering. He was doing a lot of stuff at Church of the Highlands, and that's where his comfort level was. He loved it. People love him. The youth love him. I mean, we go to church like, so no, everybody's running to him. He just loved what he was doing. So, and I felt like that's where he belongs. So, and it's been working great with our schedule, with the family and children, and so it's been a blessing.
Now, being a pastor's wife is not easy.
Yeah.
Tell me one moment when you think God, one moment as a pastor's wife that you think was worth all the pain and hassle. Because, is there one hooray moment, one aha moment that said, this is why God made me a pastor's wife? Is this what justifies all my being a pastor's wife? Is there one thing that you can remember from Birmingham to Alabama to Mississippi that can say, this was worth being here with my husband to make this difference?
I wouldn't say I have a one moment, but I have been like with him in my life. He's been a blessing. We talk about Jesus, we talk about the Word, we talk about a lot of things, and it's like you pick up stuff from each other, and I learned a lot from him also, and it's helped me in my journey with the Lord, and it has helped me in my relationships. I'm able to counsel people. I'm able to talk to people a lot more easily. I have friends or people, coworkers that they're going through stuff, and I'll sit down and talk to them, and they were like, I feel so much better now, whatever. But I feel like it was, and I'm able to use the word, and it's because through him I learned a lot of. I mean, I would read the Bible, but I wasn't reading like that. Like he would read a verse and sit on that verse until he gets something from it. So, and that's when I learned, like, oh, okay, so that's how it's done. Like, I didn't know that. I'm like, just read it. So, but,
Now, tell me your parents' reaction to this marriage. Tell me your parents' reaction. I
it's
mean, to your
different.
proposal to marry sooner.
It's a lot of, um, it's different. Some of my family accepted it, some of them did not. Even on the day of our wedding, a lot of people did not accept it, the wedding. When he proposed to marry me, my dad was not accepting he was like, he did not accept it. And then my dad's family just no, they don't want to do anything about it
Because of his tribe?
because because of his tribe, and then they feel like marriage in Nigeria is not about, or in my culture, it's not about um, boy, girl, and then we'll get it. It's about the family. So the family has to come. They have to come and sit down and agree. And for us, we agree first, and we tell them. And they were like, wait a minute, it's not about you all. So it became a whole lot of,
So my viewers are looking at you and they're like, but you're all from that part of the country. You're all from the northeastern
yeah,
Nigeria, the Borno state. And you're saying you're from two different ethnic groups within that state?
yes.
And that was the biggest challenge?
Yes, yes. His mother is from my tribe, but his father is not. His father is from Goza, and he's Goza and Murgi, and that was the main problem. They were like, no, I don't even know the whole problem about. I don't understand the whole thing. They just kept,
So it's
no,
like
no,
an
no.
African American marrying a Hispanic. Is that how I can
Yeah, that's
consider it?
pretty much. And they really just tried to stop the whole thing. Even on the day of the wedding, we had to have security men in front of the church stopping some people or trying to be there just in case a fight breaks out or whatever. That
Wow.
was how bad it was, yeah.
Okay. Now, you grew up in a family that had its challenges in the marriage realm.
Yes.
So, what do you think, did that affect you going into marriage? And I'm saying this because
Yeah.
if you know the statistics, 80% of African American families are currently having a single family or divorce, or raised in a single home, or the parents are separated or not living together. And I just want you to use your experience growing up with your dad in America. Your mom was in Nigeria. How did that affect you going into your own home? Were you going into your home, in your own home, with that, is this going to happen to me as well? Were you paranoid, or were you ready to just become who Jesus wants you to be, a successful wife? Because I think a lot of women go into marriage thinking on what happened to their parents, and unfortunately they now recycle the mistakes
That's
of their
true.
past
Yeah.
and they bring it to their future. So because their dad cheated on their mom, or because their dad beat their mom, or because their mom abandoned their dad, they go into marriage thinking the same thing is going to happen. And unfortunately, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we how can we address this? You, for example, went into this marriage. How was your mindset? What was your mindset, knowing from what the background that you had come from?
Well, going into marriage, even with my background, I knew I wanted a lifetime marriage. I didn't want to have a divorce. I didn't want anything. That's why the person you marry has to be aligned with God also. So
Right,
you can't marry someone that does not, you have to be yoked, fully
right.
yoked in the same. So you cannot marry someone does not believe in your own values or anything. So you have to sit out and talk about it. People just focus on love. Yes, there's love or whatever, but I feel like I've talked to a lot of older couples. They say love sometimes fades, but you have to persevere. So you do have to love God.
It's a
That was my
commitment,
thing.
right?
It's a
It's a
commitment.
covenant, actually.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to put in your heart that's what you want. So I made up my mind. That's what I want to do. I want to get married, and I want someone that loves God, that we have the same values on not just marriage, about family, about a lot of things in life, because disagreements can going to come, but you have to be able to sit down and talk about it. And we made up our mind. It's like there's no way out of this marriage. It's just you either die and that's it. Like that's it. We're just this is what marriage is, and you have to involve people in your life that will continue to help you grow.
Wow.
And yeah,
That's awesome. So, if you were to talk to American girls at 21 who are looking to get married and they want a lifelong relationship, what would you advise them? Looking at the statistics, it looks dead, it looks dire, it looks unhealthy, it looks toxic. What would you advise that young girl watching you on TV now who is thinking of entering a relationship for life with that young man, or that young man who wants to get married? What would you advise them to look out for in that partner that they want to settle down with?
first of all, the values, relationship with God is the number one thing, and then you figure out. You talk about life, family, how you're going to raise your children. What It's a lot to talk about. And I feel like there are a lot of marriage conferences that we went to, and that helps. And then you have to go to premarital counseling. You're going to pick up a lot of stuff because they'll give you questions to ask. But marriage is not anything to go in lightly. It's not about just, oh, we love each other. You have to really think about it. You have to pray about it. You have to be prepared. And sometimes I feel like marrying at a very young age is not the best. That's how I feel personally. But it may be, and it works for, I have a lot of family friends that it worked for, but I feel like you have to grow as a person, mature, before you make that kind of decision, because that's something you're going to be in for the rest of your life. Yeah.
Now, I want you to talk about child brides. In the part of Nigeria that you're from, a lot of girls get betrothed. I don't know if you heard the word.
Yeah.
So when they're 12, I mean, even younger than that, maybe when they're
yeah.
5, they tell them this girl is going to be that man's wife when she grows up. And at maybe 13, the man comes and says, I want my wife. And in northern Nigeria, you'll be amazed that a 15-year-old girl has had 3 children.
Yes.
Or a 20-year-old girl has had 7 children.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you didn't get married as a child bride, obviously, because your parents were educated. But can you educate my audience? Is this a reality that people who are 40, 50 are marrying children,
Yes.
13 years as their wives?
Yeah.
And how does the government, I mean, is it even legal? And okay, so even if it's legal, what are the detriments to this in our society? I want you to just, since you grew up in that part of the country, give us a reality check. Is this true? Is it real? And how is it affecting that population?
It is true. I remember going to school with some girls. They're like 14, 15, and 16. And all of a sudden, their father is very wealthy. He was the one that pushed the Sharia law in Borno State. So one day we heard they're getting married, and we went there, and they all got married. And a lot of
how old?
I think 14, 15,
14.
16, and so it's all of them got married all at the same time. And one of the youngest, we were in class at that time together. She was actually my junior in class. I was in JSS 3. She was in JSS 2, and she got married. And she had a lot of...
And JSS 2 is like seventh grade here in America, so you can imagine A seventh
Yeah,
grade getting married.
getting
Yeah.
married. She got married and they lost. She's had a lot of miscarriages, and I think she had like almost 7 miscarriages. And
Wow.
then we had a lot of, and then there's another person, my neighbor, her son was getting married, so she got married. The marriage was in Katina. After they got married, they brought the bride home. So my mother decided to go visit and just say hi to they brought your son got married, hi. So when she went and she came back, I'm like, how was the bride? And she's like, my sister was 7 at that time. And she was like, I'm like, what do you mean?
She's
She's
like,
like, AA.
oh, like
We call
7 years
her,
old.
yeah, she's like 7. She's like, the girl looks like AA. I'm like, no way. And the girl was actually 9 years old when she got married to him. So she got
And
married.
how old was the man?
She was 27, 28.
Wow.
Got married, and she had to live with his mother until she gets older. And then she went to her husband's house. And so this girl stayed there with the mom for like maybe a couple of years, and the mom could not stand her. They were fighting all the time.
Really?
And so after a while, she decided she wants to go to her husband's house. So she did go to her husband's house and got pregnant.
Oh, in
Yeah.
her 20s or
No,
in her teens.
she was probably 12, 13. And I have my hairdresser in Birmingham. She's in Niger, got married at the age of 12. She said she's never had her period. She had a period after she had her first baby.
Wow.
She was forced into marriage. So it's true.
So
True.
it's a cultural thing, it's a religious thing.
Yes, it's
So
culture and
men,
religion.
older men, is it that they prefer or they want a different age group? I guess it's cultural.
It
or
is
it's
cultural
religious,
and
I don't
plus
know.
religion at the same time. The religion, I think as long as a girl can have a menstrual period, that means she can have a baby, and she can get married. And a lot of girls, I mean, I've seen a 8, 9-year-old having a menstrual period, and that does not mean she's ready to get married. She's still a child, a baby. But a lot of them think she's ready to get married, and they will try to entice the family with a huge bride prize or a lot of
So at times it's
wealth.
financial.
It's financial.
The
sometimes.
whole
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Now, if you want to, my audience is like aghast. They can't believe this is happening. In America, we call it pedophilia. And that person will go to jail for life. So this is happening in other parts of the world. How can America address this? I mean, is there a way out of this? I mean, what do you think we can do to stop child brides? I mean, those Chibok girls that were kidnapped, they were all married off to older men, and their schooling was abruptly stopped. You know, so what can we do as the Western world to help this child bride issue?
I think education is the changing stone for everything. Once you educate a girl child, you pretty much educate the whole world. You educate her, she knows what school is important, and she'll be able to finish school and eventually get married. And she knows the importance of school. She'll put her children into school, and that's how the community will change. So education is very, very important. Educating women, empower women, businesses, they can do something to help them, not just because they come and entice them with money or something, but if they have their own things going, that will help them. For the Western world, they can help with education, they can help with sending what they call them, they're just sending people to come in and just educate us. And it's not just sending us resources, but those people need to be taught the importance of keeping your girls, let them grow. They have a lot of fistula clinics and stuff because they're not able to have babies because they're still young.
So the vesical vaginal fistula,
Yeah.
a lot of it happens in the younger girls because their pelvis is not you know,
Exactly.
mature, ready for childbirth.
Yeah, so it's a lot going on, but once they educated and let the girls grow, when you reach at least 18, then that would be the perfect age to get married. At least for them, 18 is like you're actually seen as being old at 18.
Wow.
Yeah, you're really old to get married. They want you to bear a lot more children. That's why they want you to
Uh,
start early so you can have
more
more children.
children.
Yes.
So, looking back 8 years of marriage, would you change anything? You have three lovely children. You know, they say hindsight is 2020.
Yes.
Would you change anything? Would you live in Los Angeles instead of Mississippi? Would you go for a different career? Would you have had a boy first? Or, what would you, I mean, is there anything you would have changed if you were looking back?
Nah, I feel like God actually knows what you need before He
Right.
gives it to you. I would not change anything. Having children the way I had them, the order, it was perfect. That's how I actually needed. I actually bought a lot of girl clothes even before, way before I got married. I knew I
Oh,
wanted children. I have
wow.
children clothes, like tons of children clothes, waiting for me to have children. I was like, I knew God would bless me with children, and like, I felt I'm one of those you have to prophesy into your life. It's not like, oh,
Mhm.
you want a child. Start buying the clothes, keeping it, praying over it, and that's how I did. Like, if you want a business, write the name, come up with a plan, and start looking up to the God will provide, and He
Wow.
will make a way. So yeah.
In some parts of Nigeria, I'm sure you've heard that some men divorce their wives because they have only girls. I mean, that is so
Yeah.
ridiculous in America.
Yeah.
But I know people who they despise the wife because all she's had are girls. So what was that? Do you think that's a true reflection of some parts of? Was that a true
That's
reflection
true.
of northern Nigeria?
Yeah,
In northern Nigeria, they don't respect a woman who doesn't have a boy
they do. They
till
do not.
today.
Absolutely. They they would divorce a woman for having so many girl child. Or they would see like the girl child is not as important. They would not carry the name. I know a family who had like 8 girls, and then the last child was a boy, and all the girls actually ended up being very very successful. But the boy is now a drunk. He's just like alcoholic and doing all, but the girls are the ones helping the family. The parents, they're older now, they need help, and the girls are helpful than the boys.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's a misnomer. People don't understand the value of the girl child because they think the girl child is going to be just married off and of no
Yes,
consequence,
yes,
and they think the boy is going to keep the family name and leave a legacy, not realizing that God can use girls too.
yeah,
I mean, there's 4 daughters of, I think, Zelophehad in the Bible. They took their father's inheritance.
yeah.
So we're talking to Miss Musa Cerner, Justice, nurse practitioner, Jackson Heights Comprehensive Center. She's been pouring out her heart, pouring out the details of her life, and she's been very transparent. We're going to share with you the last part next week on what it is to be a minister's wife. And I know it's going to be a blessing to those of you, especially who are in the ministry or who are ministers' wives. She's going to share with you her experience over the last 4, 5, 6 years, and some tips and ways to build that relationship with your husband who's a minister. You don't want to miss it. This is Dr. Toby. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Don't forget, check us out, faithandpower.online. Jesus is Lord. Amen.